Welcome. Welcome to our explorations. Dr. Carl here again with you, and we were last time talking about science and spirituality. So there are two ways of putting it. One is the science of spirituality, and the other is the spirituality of science. Now, both of these are worthy of your attention and our exploration. And for instance, we have frequently said that some of the great masters never came to start religions. I say this always about Jesus, because the whole Christianity thing was an invention that happened after him. He simply called what he was doing the way of the Christ. The way Lao Tse also said in China, he simply said, Tao is the way, radiant and serene, the way. And Buddha, Gautama Buddha the same. So the great teachers always speak out in such a way that you make your own reality out of what they are saying. You do not turn it into a theology, and I won't go into that. We haven't the time to do it. But sometime, if you want to join or have a weekend on it, we have lots to say on that subject. Well, interesting to me was in 1978, when I got together in Florence, Italy, a Renaissance to move these new things together. It was called a Renaissance on the new, we called it the New Age in those days, to bring science and mystics together, scientists and mystics together. The astonishing thing, about 1,200 showed up. It was an interesting chaos that we went through. But the interesting thing was that the scientists were frequently much more mystical than the mystics. And certainly the theologians were way behind. But the mystics even got caught up in their language and things of that sort that did not always bring a reality to the people that were with them. But the scientists were beginning to see that which was beyond what the eye can see, beyond what the ear can hear, beyond what the feeling can touch. Non-material science. Well, you would know the names of some of these people, so I'm keeping the names out at this moment. Yes, it was after my time with Einstein, so it was other people than 2 generations later. But what they were essentially saying is, we've gone so deep into nanotechnology that you cannot see or feel or touch anything that relates to our reality. Dr. Kahler was offered a chair to sit in. Hello? I'm not sitting on a chair. I'm sitting on the probability of the possibility of atoms and molecules forming in such a way that it makes matter happen and matter makes a chair. Do I see it that way? No. Do I experience it that way? No. No, not really. So much of the reality of the new science, which is mystical, comes from that which is non-material and beyond sense perception. And it is amazing. I mentioned how our friend Michio Kaku has something he calls hyperscience. Now that was back in the 90s. He's taking it further now into string theory. But the thing is, hyper, what does that mean? It means it's beyond that which is identifiable this way. And in these few moments that we have together, let me say that as astonishing to me would also be, I think, opening your eyes to, not eyes, your consciousness to see that reality is non-material. Or the matter part is just 1/1,000,000th of the reality. Billionth, probably. I don't know who counts it. And that's a joke. Okay, but the thing about it is, what I'm here to help you see, and if we get together again or have a weekend together, we can go into it very deeply, that the reality is beyond the material. The reality is beyond what you can see and touch. And that reality, which is now a hyperscience, is also what some of our most recent great minds have brought together. And I bring again up, of course, that Max Planck really started that at the beginning of the last century. And by the middle of the last century, he was actually saying it's a divine intelligence that's ruling the world. Now, when science begins to say that, and Metju Kaku and Greg Braden and others today are emphasizing this more and more, that it is a divine intelligence at work. And you are the result of it. And as a matter of fact, you may be part of the creative process, but you're a result of divine intelligence. Now, if that isn't true spirituality, what is? But it has nothing to do with the religious way of squaring things off into how can I say it and not embarrass anybody? By saying it's a dogma. Now it's time for the joke. What is God spelled backwards? Dog. So therefore the dogma is what happens if you perceive God as being anthropomorphic, as the Greeks did and others, or as being the creator of a duality world, vibration of good and evil, light and dark, and now we're even finding that the dark holes of space are the creative place where light penetrates beyond what can be visible. Now, at our next meeting together, I will also suggest that we can go even deeper in our few moments together. Now, you may want to think about being in touch, in which case let me give you, if you have a pen at hand, an email where I can be reached. I'll be happy to respond to you. And we simply use my name, Dr, with no spaces, Carl, with no spaces, Shap as in peace, Ley, at, hotmail.com. So, I'd love to hear from you, but the thing about it is that if you need to send for me, find a flying saucer, because that's much more real than walking it or taking the airplane. We love you. God bless.